And now it's Deborah Cobalt Live and the Little Italy podcast.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on our podcast, Little Italy Podcast, and of course, Deborah Cobalt Live. I am honored to present to you jazz great Lena Prima. Lena is the youngest daughter of jazz super great Louis Prima, who I grew up listening to. My parents would be dancing to him on the weekends with the relatives. I play Louis Prima songs and Lena Prima on throughout my house. We love your work, and we've been big fans for a long time. And I was thrilled to meet you at the Italian American Museum here in Los Angeles, where there is a terrific exhibit about Dad and where you have performed. So, gosh, Lena, thank you. It's an honor to have you here.
Well, likewise, I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me. That exhibit
Yeah.
is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's terrific. I mean, just so much about his history, his life. I love always seeing the costumes and the
Yes.
clothes that they wear on stage,
Yeah,
and the
absolutely.
many people he performed with, including you when you were a little girl. There's this great photo of you, peeking around, I believe, the curtain when Dad was performing.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Tell me about growing up with Dad. Did you know back then that he was some sort of just special, great
Oh,
performer?
I knew he was special, absolutely, because he really was. He was larger than life, charismatic, funny, warm, loving, happy guy. Like he was like just like a big kid, like a big cartoon character. Just the greatest dad to have. I just was enamored with him, idolized him, hid around corners and spied on him and watched everything he did and listened to everything he said. And he was amazing.
Now, I know that he grew up in New Orleans. You grew up primarily in Vegas. But
Yeah.
back in his day, when he was in New Orleans and he was getting into the scene, he was around some of the greatest jazz performers of all time, from Louis Armstrong all the way up, if you will. But his sound was very different. How would you describe him?
Well, his sound definitely came from New Orleans. I really learned that when I moved back here 12 years ago. I also was able to, I grew up part here and part in Vegas. I went to school part of my life here too. So moved back here 12 years ago and really have experienced all the different sounds and styles and rhythms, the horn players, just the way that people play and the styles. I could see how it all mixed in together, and that's where he got his own style from. He made it his own style, of course, but this is where it came from, New Orleans for sure.
Yeah, but even his movements, they were just different. He just had a way about him, his leg, the way it moved and gyrated.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
the,
He was having
yeah,
fun, he loved to dance, and he was just having the best time on stage, which, the audience, if you were lucky enough to see him live, experience that fun and joy. But we hear it in his music, his joyfulness and love and warmth, and that's why we love his music so much. It makes us feel great, want to dance. That was him.
you have a residency in New Orleans. Could you tell us about that? Because, not long ago I was there and I, didn't get my reservation there, and I just sort of popped into the hotel and I burst into that room, and there you were. And I thought, wow, she really is his daughter. I mean, you were just
Aw,
magnificent.
thank
Tell
you.
us about where you performed there.
It's the Hotel Monteleone. It's on Royal Street in the French Quarter. It's one of the oldest family-owned hotels in the country. It's an Italian family-owned hotel. And my dad actually played there when I was a little girl. There was a club on the
Mm.
top floor. I called the Skylight Room, and my dad played there. So I went there when I was a kid with my dad, and the job happened as we were moving here the end of 2011. They were opening the Carousel Bar up, and renovating that whole area and making it into a bigger room with entertainment. So with a stage and stuff, and they found out I was moving back and asked if I would be interested in
Wow.
opening that lounge. And we've been there 12 years, and it's the most fun. Every week, every night I play is different and amazing people, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you just walk into the lobby and you know that most of the people in there are there to see you. You pack
Ah,
it in. No, you do, Lena. I'm telling you, you pack it in. Just sitting in the lobby. I was waiting for my son to join us, and everyone was talking about and very excited about seeing you perform. It's really quite a legacy that you carry on. Let's dial it back a little bit. So let's
Okay.
tell our audience where you were born and what were your interests as a kid. Did you always want to be a performer?
Well, I was born in Las Vegas, yeah, and I was on stage for the first time when I was 5, and I sang "Santa Claus is Coming to Town." I remember what I was
Oh,
wearing. I remember what it felt like up there in the spotlight and the people smiling at me, and I just knew that's what I wanted to do just from the age of 5. So,
wow.
and I'm a creative
Wow.
person. I mean, I'm an artist too, and I design my costumes and I make all kinds of things. And so I've just been a creative person my entire life. So I still enjoy doing all of those things. And I started working as a professional singer when I was 19. They were
Hmm.
sneaking into the clubs in the back door because I was underage.
But wait a minute, you weren't doing jazz then, right?
No,
What were you doing?
I was a rocker. I started in with hard rock, heavy metal. You know, I did that for about 10 years of my life. That was really my passion, was
Yeah.
wanted to be a rock star.
And you were out here in LA, right, for a while. Didn't you perform at the Troubadour? Tell us about
I
that
did
time. Tell.
perform. Yes, I performed with the Troubadour. I didn't live in LA at the time though, but I did get to record. I was with a band that we wrote all of our own songs, and we moved to Denver to record with Jeff Workman, who's
Mm,
platinum,
wow.
producer, engineer, worked with all my heroes, Journey, Foreigner, Sammy Hagar, all the people I admired. So I got to work and with him and record an album, and I learned so much from that experience, about songwriting and production, and it was an amazing experience. And yeah, we played in LA. There weren't very many female singers fronting rock bands at the time, so it was very difficult. And
Yeah.
the band ultimately broke up, and that's how I ended up going into the casino circuit. I was really wanted to make singing a full time job. My best friend was working in the lounges, and she suggested I audition for a band, and I'd be able to work full time, and that's what I did. And I did that for 9 years, working with other bands. But I could work full time. But it was hard work. It was 5 shows a night, 6 nights a week. Uh,
Ooh.
yeah, it was hard. So I had to learn how to pace myself and not lose my voice. It was, but it was great. I enjoyed it. I got a lot of great experience from doing that.
Wow, that's a lot. Now, mom was also a performer, right? Could you talk to us about your mom, Gia?
Oh yeah, that's how my mom and dad met each other. My dad was looking for a new female vocalist. He and Keely Smith had split up. I believe that was around 1959 or 60. Um,
Hmm.
so a couple years went by, and he was looking for a vocalist, and my mom went to the audition and got the job. And I always joke I was born 9 months and 2 days later.
I was going to say, she got a lot more than the job. There's no doubt about it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, she's absolutely beautiful singer.
Yeah. Didn't she teach you to play the drums?
Yeah, she
Did I
did.
read that?
We had a little mini drum set, kid-sized drum set, and she did teach me how to play. So I still play sometimes with my band in the first set. Sometimes, if our drummer is a little bit late, I'll play a couple songs.
Oh, I love that. And I love just how you sort of, it's so impromptu. You're just so natural on the stage. It's like an extension, like our hand or arm is an extension of the shoulder. That's just how you are when you get up there. If something doesn't work, I don't know, I'm kind of like that too. If something isn't working, it's like, oh, let's go to the next one. But
Oh
that's
yeah,
why it works so smoothly with you. The
thank
drummer's late, there's Lena out there just doing the drums. I love it. I really, really love it.
thank you.
So, mom was a performer. How did she feel when you got into the business?
Well, she absolutely did forbid me to be in the business. I went to her
Oh,
when I was a teenager. Yeah. I went to her when I was a teenager and told her that's what I wanted to do. And she said, "You will absolutely not do that." She even
wow.
discouraged me, said I would be an embarrassment to my father, and that I would get a job and, work, and that would be what I would be doing. So I felt always, all these years, that
Mm,
was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing because we all want to please our moms. So
Yeah.
I just never could. I could never please her because she was just mad at me my whole life.
Yeah, but
So
that's go ahead.
yeah, it was a tough road for me, and it took me a really long time to believe in my own self and realize that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I wish I would have realized it when I was younger, but oh well, it's okay.
Oh, well, it just takes us a couple of decades, Lena. We finally get there, right? At the end of it all.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard because you want to please your mom, you want to have a good relationship. We all do, it's just normal, but that just wasn't the case for me, and I didn't have another adult figure in my life or parent or anybody that was encouraging me. So I really had to. My friends encouraged me always, so I relied on my friends and just my own self, my own determination. I've worked for everything I have, and I feel like that. My dad was the same. I feel like that's what I always kept my eyes on was, my dad worked for a living. He worked very hard. He was,
Yeah.
42 weeks a year on the road and on stage. And, why I want that to be my legacy. I want to work for a living and spread love and joy with music. And so I just kept that in my mind always.
You said there was not another adult at the time that you could go to talk to about that. You were very young
Right.
when dad died. Go
Right.
ahead.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
Tell our audience about that. I didn't even quite realize how young you were, and I didn't even quite realize what dad died from. Can you describe that? But what that
Sure.
was like for you as such a young person? That's a very,
Yeah.
very important age there. Would you tell us?
Yeah. I was 11, and my dad was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and he had chosen to have a surgery to try to remove it, although they just didn't have the technology at that time. But
Yeah.
he had to make a choice, and because it was on the brain, difficult to imagine life not having the surgery. So he went right from the stage to the hospital. The surgery was unsuccessful. He ended up in a coma for 3 years before he
Ugh.
passed. Um, so for me, I always kind of felt like an old soul as a kid. Like I just felt like I kind of took on the responsibility as kids do. So, some kids do that. You take on the responsibility. I felt like um, I had to grow up and be the adult and take care of my brother and my mother. And I don't know, just a
No,
little
I
kid.
get it.
You feel the burden. So it was hard when he passed away. I felt like, oh, I didn't say enough prayers or rosaries, or it's my
Mm,
fault. So God, it was tough. It was hard to see your dad who you idolize, end up like that. So, but
yeah.
of course, now in life, I realize that was the way it had to be. It was actually, I couldn't imagine him not being on stage or you know being sick and not being able to perform. So, everybody's got their own path. That was his path.
Yeah. Very true,
Yeah.
sadly, but it's very, very true. But he does live on today with his music and with you.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Tell us about some of the great performances of his that you look back on and go, "Oh, wow, I kind of can't even believe that happened." And the people that he performed with.
Well, of course, the great story is that while he was at the Sahara, uh, Sammy Davis Jr., Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Joey Bishop, Jerry Lewis, all those guys would come in and see him late night, and they would just walk up on stage and cut up
Oh,
and have an amazing time. And so the Rat Pack was created from that, in which they all gave my dad credit for. So that to me is the greatest thing ever. Is what would it have been like to be in that audience and experience those times, when that happened. God. And then,
wha-
all those, you can see lots of YouTube video. Those Ed Sullivan performances are just amazing. I love watching the videos of whatever's out there of him on the different shows with Keeley, with my mom, by himself. He was just to watch him. It's great that there's so much video out there.
Yeah. Did he have a favorite song that he loved to perform, or that he always performed?
I don't know. I really
Oh,
don't know that part about him. I feel like he loved performing, you know.
yeah.
I
How
wish
about
I
you? How
wish
about
we
you?
could ask him that. Well, my 2 favorite songs were that he did were 5 Months, 2 Weeks, 2 Days, and Jump, Jive, and Wail when I was a kid. I
Jump,
also liked
jive.
Banana Split for My Baby because I thought was singing that to me.
Oh,
I
he
thought he was
probably
singing it
was.
to me, taking me out for a banana split.
Oh, Lena, that is so darling. That is so
Yeah,
darling. I mean, I'm sort of in love with yeah, Jump Drive. I love that one. I mean, as you're
yeah.
saying it, I'm like dancing in my seat here. It just makes you want to do that. And then of course, it's called Sing Sing Sing, or tell me a little bit about,
Oh, Sing, Sing, Sing.
what's behind the title, because I once read that there it was Sing Bing Sing, or I don't know, tell me.
Yeah, I heard stories, different people that were close to my dad told me stories about that. That he was with Bing Crosby and they were watching the horses race when he got inspired to write the song. So when you kind of
Wow.
hear the drums and everything, you kind of tell yeah, you could see that as a background for horse races. And that he
That's
did
great.
call it Sing Bing Sings. He loved Bing Crosby was his favorite singer. If you listen to
Wow.
his recording of "I Got the World on a String," he says in there, he sings in there, "If I could only sing like Bing."
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah, yep. So
wow.
of course, changed to "Sing Sing Sing" and ended up in the Grammy Hall of Fame.
Growing up in an Italian household, now tell our audience a little bit about your Italian background on both sides, and what was that like? What kind of traditions did you all have?
Oh gosh, yeah. My mom's side from northern Italy, Napolitan, and my dad's side all Sicilian. His parents came from two separate towns in Sicily. One a little island called Ustica, his mother, and Salapruta, his father's side. Um, so yeah, we had all the tradition. My dad wanted red beans and rice on Mondays from from being in New Orleans. So we had our certain days of the week where we had different dishes that my dad liked. He loved to eat um, fennel. Fenurkia, he
Oh
calls it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so before dinner, he would have a little bowl of olive oil and vinegar and seasonings and dip his fenurkia in there. He liked to eat that before dinner. And he loved all kinds of different, he loved meatballs, masticholi. Meatballs and masticholi was his favorite pasta dish. He liked spaghetti aglio olio with capers. Um, he loved seafood. So shrimp, any kind of seafood he loved too. And I have just really great memories of when we would go on the road with him of going to restaurants after hours, like late night when he
Mm.
was done, that, these people would keep the restaurant open just for us. So it'd be us and the band and whoever else and big
Oh wow.
table, and the chef would cook amazing food. And my dad always made everybody stand up and give a round of applause to everybody in the chef in the kitchen. He
I'll
loved to
bet.
applaud the cook. So those were neat experiences too with him
Were
and
you on
food.
the
He loved food.
Were you on the road a lot with him?
During the summer breaks from school, yes. Yep.
Mm.
Anytime there was a break, yeah, we would go out. That was a great
Wow.
experience too, getting to travel and be on the road, and you know, helped me to be that kind of person today where I love to move around.
Yeah. So let's go from the transition from performing in Vegas, right? For how many years you said you were doing that?
Oh God. So in the lounges was about 9 years, rock
Yeah.
singing about 10 years. And then I was actually I had kind of, worked my way up to where I performed with the Checkmates for about a year as a girl singer. And then I auditioned for a Spiral Staircase, which they had that hit, I Love You More Today Than Yesterday. And I got in that band, and that was great because now we're doing 3 shows a night, better gigs, and we're traveling a lot. I was traveling like 8 months out of the year. But I was on a
Wow.
cruise ship, and I was doing a couple of my dad's songs in this band, and we were in a show lounge, and people were just lining up after the performance to tell me stories about my dad. And that they had
Oh,
seen him and how much they loved him, and it was like a thing. I was like, "Oh my god," I heard amazing stories. So there's a piano player named Glenn Smith. He said to me, "Why don't you have your own show?" I was like, I don't know. I don't know how to do that."
wow.
He talked me into it, and I went back to my cabin that night, and the movie Field of Dreams was on, and it was like, "Build it and he will come."
I
So
love it.
I know, so I used that. I was like, "That's it. I'm gonna do it." So I put my own show together, tribute to my dad, and did my first show in 2000 on Father's Day. And an Italian guy hired me at a casino in Las Vegas because I couldn't get a job. I had no promo, went out on my own. It was really scary. And his name was Rich Strafella, and I just always thank him and mention his name because he's the one that got me started, and I was well on my way after that, to be performing on my own. It was,
That
great.
takes a lot of guts, right?
Yeah.
Did you almost feel like you had your dad's hand on your shoulder a little bit? What did it feel like
I've
that
always
you were?
felt that. I've always felt that. And I get signs with the pennies. He sang "Pennies from Heaven" to me when I was little, and
Yeah.
then I
Oh,
get these crazy. I have crazy penny stories when I'm struggling or down and out, and I would find a penny somewhere crazy that you'd go, "What are the odds of this?" And I just took it always as a sign from him, and that kept me going all these years.
I believe that. Like
Yeah,
I firmly like I don't have the pennies thing, right, in
yeah,
my life,
yeah,
but there's always something, right? We had my mom and I had a thing about a certain number. And whenever I think of her and whenever I really need her, there's the number. Or
yes,
whenever you're kind of channeling, you need dad,
yeah,
there's a penny. I
yeah.
really firmly believe that. I really feel that they can see us. We
Yeah,
just can't see them. I believe that. But right now,
me
dad's
too.
watching this interview and saying, you go, Lena, you go, girl. And
Right.
and my parents are probably up there dancing and making a few meatballs listening to this. You
Excellent.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love that. So here you are, you're off on your own, you're in Vegas. What inspired you to bring your show to New Orleans? What was it?
Well, I had the opportunity in 2010, the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival honored my dad, and I was given the opportunity to perform at the festival that year. So I had just released my very first jazz album, and it was just the timing was amazing. So we made a 2 week experience out of it where I got booked at the Jazz Playhouse and the Blue Room, and
Wow.
just had, made a really great experience out of it. So we were here for 14 days, and it was so amazing. I didn't want to go back to Vegas.
Wow.
And when I got back, I was so depressed. Like, I was laying in bed going, I don't want to get out of bed. I want to just go back to New Orleans. So I told my husband, I really want to move there. I feel like I belong there. And we did it. We sold everything we had and we moved in at the end of 2011.
Yeah. Let's talk about your husband Tim. He's in the band with you. Let's talk about
Yes.
that. How does that work out?
It works out great. That's not really a common thing though, that would work out. But, we're soulmates and kindred spirits, and we love playing together. We love traveling together. It's great. I'm lucky. It's great. We've been together 22 years, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, and in that way, you're different than your dad, right? I mean, dad had many relationships, and
Yeah.
how many kids did he have that we know of?
I believe seven.
Yeah,
I think seven.
7 children, multiple marriages. You're the
Yes.
youngest daughter. That
Yeah.
there's always a special place, I'm sure, in his heart for the youngest daughter. I'm the youngest daughter, and I really
Oh,
believe there's something about being the young one. You know what I mean? You're cute because you're just little. Just right then and there. You know what I mean? And you
yeah.
probably could do no wrong. I'm sure when he saw you sort of off in the distance, he was beaming. Did you feel
I
that
hope
from him?
so. I hope so. I don't know. I
Yeah.
was just so enamored with him. He was wonderful and love
Yeah.
filled. Oh yeah.
So you've got 8 albums. You said earlier you make your own costumes. I know you make your own fabulous hats. You
Yes.
have these beautiful hats. Like, what do you do? Are you at home sewing on your off time? Like, what's
Oh,
going on?
yeah. I'm one of those people that has to be creating something. So
Yeah.
I make jewelry. I started with the pennies from
Yes.
bracelets because people started telling me the same story. Their loved
Oh,
ones were
wow.
leaving the pennies. So I started making these bracelets in like 2006, and I just make a different one every year, or whatever. And I've been selling those ever since. And
Mm.
so I do jewelry, I do my costumes, I love to sew, I write, I got to be doing something all the time.
Yeah. Well, when you're not performing and sewing, what do you do? What do you like to do? Do you like to go out and look at the water there? Because it's so beautiful. New Orleans to me is just, it's one of my favorite cities in the country. It is so rich. It is so beautiful. What do you like to do there?
My husband and I just like to relax. We love to go to the movies. We love the
Mm,
movies, and we love Disneyland.
really? You
Yes,
come out here to go to, okay, that's really
yes,
funny. You
yes,
come out here and go to Disneyland, or do you go over to
yes.
Orlando and go to
No,
Disney World, or both? No.
Disneyland.
Why? Because you went there as a kid, or tell me?
I just love that's the original place. I love that it's
Hmm.
California. I love California. I love that it's small. You can stay right down the street and walk to Disneyland every day. And because it's small, you can do everything more than one time. Because I'm like a 5-year-old. I like riding rides and people watching and watching little kids, and so I just love it. We go as often as we can go.
Really? Do you like Mr. Toad? That's my favorite, I have to be
I
honest.
do.
You
I do.
do? You like
I
Mr.
love it.
Toad?
No, and
Okay,
Peter Pan ride, that's like my fave.
I love Peter Pan. I do. I even like It's a Small World. I can't say that publicly
I
because
love
that
it.
seems to be, don't you? Like as a
Yeah.
little kid, I'd be like, wow, look at all these different places I hope to visit one day. Right? That
Oh,
that
yeah.
little that little ride inspired me, and everybody else wants to make fun of it. And they're like, oh, it's an awful thing. And I'm like, no, I think it's really great.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
wow, even with the
I love it.
crowds, even with
Well,
the crowds, you like going.
we try to go and really plan it to where, the crowd calendar go, and it's not we've done it with the crowd thing, and it's a nightmare, but we still have fun.
You
But
still go.
yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So 8 albums. What has inspired you? Because that's a lot of work to get into the studio, right? A very different experience
Right.
than performing live, that's for sure. What
Yeah.
is that like? Do you have to take a break from performing, or can you do it simultaneously? How do you do that?
Well, it just depends. I love to record. I've been recording since I was 19 as well. And once I had my first experience, I just loved it. So
Oh.
I do enjoy it. And to me, making an album is it's like a scrapbook of where you are at that point in your life, you know,
Mm.
because then, you listen to the album a year later and go, ah, I could have done that better, or I could have done that different, or, but it's cool to have that's why they call it a record, I guess. A record is, where you were at that time. What did I have to say at that moment? So I like just creating whatever I feel at that time, whatever kind of music I feel at that time.
Mm.
Um, the album I did in Nashville, which is a big band album. Now that was different because that was a big project, very expensive and involved. I wanted to record the Italian songs that I grew up, listening to my dad sing, and do them all in a big band, an authentic big band way, but with a more modern sound, a live sound, and just kind of take, my dad had arrangements like say Felicia No Capisce. He had different arrangements of it with different verses. And so I wanted to get them all, everything into one arrangement. So I did that with Oh Marie, and I put the
Mhm.
traditional ballad part up front and then did the big band, So it was a big project, and I did prepare. I went to a vocal coach here in New Orleans, Antoine Deal. He's amazing, and he helped me work on my voice and telling the story, because these are all story songs of Italian life, starting from the
Yeah.
40s. So that experience was absolutely fantastic, and very involved. And I did prepare for, like say 2 months before I recorded,
Mm.
so I could go in and really, nail it. So I'm real proud of that album, and it did debut at number 10 on the Billboard album charts.
That's magnificent. You're
I
working on another one. Aren't you working on another album as well? Do
do.
you
I
have one
put
coming?
together kind of a best of that's
Mm.
remastered, and took like a couple. I just picked my favorites from my previous 7 albums and put 14 tracks together and made like a mix. I put a little cassette on the cover, Lena's mix tape. So it could be like just a best of me kind of thing, just my favorites. So I've been selling it, just the physical copies at my shows that I've been doing since January, and I'll release it digitally over the summer soon.
Oh, I love that. You talked about Italian music. Do you ever go back to where your family is from,
I
in
have
Italy?
never, no, I've never been. I've never been.
I'm sure they would welcome you with not just open arms, but they would just surround you. Is that something you'd like to do? I could only imagine you showing up there where you're from. What do you think? Would you ever want to do that and
Yeah,
maybe try and perform
I
there?
was trying to plan that out, and then the pandemic happened, so it didn't happen. So I imagine that'll come up again now that things are, getting back to normal. So
Oh, I'd love to see you go do that. It
yeah,
would be a real life-changing experience for you too. I think you'd feel them there, right? Even more so, just sort of the spirit of your ancestors there.
for sure.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
have they gotten in touch with you at all and said, "Oh my God, please come visit"? Because I finally did that and I went and met all of them,
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
it was a wonderful experience. I didn't know what to expect, right?
Yeah,
Because it was my side of the family, the Zara side, the De Benedicta side. They decided to come, but most of the others decided to stay. And I
yeah.
thought, are they going to wonder why I'm coming here? Whatever. Oh my gosh, I was so welcome. But especially you, Ms. Prima, I could only imagine. Have you ever connected with them or talked to anybody there? Or?
No, but I've certainly talked to friends here in New Orleans that would help facilitate all of that to happen. So
Oh, oh, I really hope so.
yeah.
Okay, so tell me, what is next for you? Where are you next? What are you doing? All of it.
Well, we're here now. We're back here. We just came from Chicago this past weekend, which kind of ended our traveling for the season. So we're kind of just here in New Orleans for the summer. And then we'll start doing some traveling again in the fall, a little bit of traveling. But we'll be at the Mont Leon on Thursdays and Saturdays throughout the summer, praying that don't have to dodge any hurricanes.
I know, really. Anybody you'd love to perform with? Something on the bucket list.
Oh my God. Uh, this is going to sound crazy, but Ann Wilson from Heart would be my number one on the list because that's really, I feel like she taught me how to sing because I had a similar sounding tone in my voice, and I used to copy
Wow.
sing to all her records, and my friends would invite me over as a teenager and put the records on and have me turn out the lights and just have me stand in the living room and sing Heart songs for everybody. So she was my biggest influence to Ann Wilson. So it would be amazing to actually sing like Dreamboat Annie or something with Ann Wilson. That would be that would be a bucket list item.
Wow, we got to make that happen. Between that and going to Italy, we got a lot to do. We got a lot of work to do. Honest to God, Lena, that's very very exciting to hear that. Tom Jones isn't he somewhere in your
I,
past? Either
I was just
Dad
gonna
loved him, you
say
loved
he would be next on the list. Tom
who?
Jones would be number 2 on the list to sing with. Because yeah,
I
I loved him so much and listened to his records and got to see him when I was a kid, and I do a big Tom Jones medley. I love Tom Jones. He's amazing. His voice, oh my God. Yeah.
I'm sure if you just picked up the phone with these people and said, "Would you want to come down to New Orleans?" They'd probably be thrilled. I have to just say, I could see that you performing with both of them. I really hope that happens sometime in the
I'm too
future, in the
shy,
near future. What's that?
too shy to do that. I don't know. It'd be great.
Yeah, just unbelievable. Well, gosh, Lena, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, I know you've got so many beautiful, beautiful stories in there. What keeps you going?
Just passion and love of what I do. And um, I really enjoy, I'm just going to say I feel grateful and blessed that this is my my lane. This is my job in life, to play
Yeah.
music. People need music and fun and joy, and I get to be that person that helps give other people a good time with music. That's, to me, amazing. I'm grateful every day for that. So as long as I can keep doing that, I'm just really grateful. I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, and also as an encouragement to other people who are afraid to try something that's really in their heart. Go for it anyway, right? Just
Oh,
go for it.
yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's something it took me a long time to learn. It's my life, and how do I want to spend it? And doing what you love is the best way to spend your life, to spend every day of your life, doing what you love. Yeah, that's a way to do it.
Especially as a woman. Are there a lot of women in this genre doing this? I mean, there are, but is it
Sure.
primarily? Go ahead.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah. First of all, New Orleans is filled with amazing female artists, singers, musicians, unbelievable. But everywhere. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You know, the show business is hard for women, I
Yeah,
think. I still feel like there's, you know, we still have our struggles,
yeah.
you
But
know,
I think everything
and
turned for you. I think a lot turned for you when you decided to do it yourself and go out on your own and believe in yourself, even if probably half the days you got out there and went, "What am I doing?" But you
yeah,
did it, and
I
that's what.
yeah, I wish I wouldn't have spent so much time not believing in myself. I think
Oh,
that's the thing, and it's not easy to do, especially if were raised in that kind of an environment. It's hard to break away from that and really, defy what you were taught, and believe in yourself. But once that happened for me, then all the fun starts, because then you're owning your own power and your own talent and your abilities, and there's great joy in that. And that's, you know, to get to that point in life where you're in joy every day, that's what I strive for. I just want to be in joy every day. That helps me to give that to others.
can I get you for a second? Are you one of those people where I could say, could you like hum something, sing something real quick as we close the show out? Like
God,
anything? Or are you like, oh, great, thanks, Deborah, for putting me on the spot?
God, I have like what's in my head, a million thousand things. I don't know, a New Orleans song. I see trees of green, red
Mm.
roses too. I see them bloom for
Oh,
me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
beautiful. Thank you so much, Lena Prima. That was so special. Thank you for bringing so much joy into all our lives, into my life. Your charisma is just, I'm telling you, you're glowing. You're coming through the screen. I appreciate you. I really do. I appreciate all you do for music, for making us happy. Really, you could just go and watch you perform and you come out and you're smiling. I appreciate that. And just know that you do that for all of us. So thank you. And thank you for taking the time to join us today. I know you're busy. And it's really just been an honor to talk to you. Lena Prima. And everybody, please go check out her work, lenaprima.com. You've got everything on there, right on your website.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me today. I really enjoyed being here and talking with you.
Yeah, it's an honor. And everybody, you can find our podcast, of course, with Lena Prima on our video platforms of YouTube, Facebook. We then have promos over on Instagram and every place else, Threads, just wherever you get your podcast, you're going to find us there. And then the audio version, we're over on iHeart, Apple, Spotify, just anywhere you get your podcast, put in Deborah Cobalt Live and the Little Italy podcast, and of course, Lena Prima, and you'll see us pop up there. So thanks everybody for joining us. Write to us, reach out to Lena because she answers everybody. And I just appreciate you all being here. Tell your friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.